Back at the start of this most recent anime season, there was one show I was genuinely curious in above all else. One series that I was really hoping would light the anime world on fire and would become the next big thing. And no, it wasn't the big hype action show. It wasn't the big returning shonen. It wasn't even the critically acclaimed manga adaptation. It was Metallic Rouge, a completely original sci-fi action anime created by the legendary Studio Bones, creators of some of my favorite anime of all time, like FMA and MHA and all these other abbreviations you can do. And so, needless to say, this was the show I was the most excited for. Also, I saw the world premiere panel for this at Anime NYC, which had the people who made the show. And I saw it was made by many industry veterans who, in theory, should make a great show. So when I see what they gave us, I have many questions. And since I have a YouTube channel where we talk about things like this, let's discuss those things, shall we? As we give a post-mortem to Metallic Rouge, a show that completely failed not just here in America, but did pretty damn bad in Japan as well. So, yeah, without further ado, let us get started. Let's start off with Metallic Rouge's premise, because honestly, it starts pretty fucking promising. The way they introduce just this grimy, dirty Martian world, the way there's so much color and detail and life to everything, you feel like you're really just put right smack dab into it. As you're introduced to a world inhabited by humans who oppress these androids called neons, and then we meet this really fucking hot neon who she might have been the reason that kept me watching this show, named Rouge, who is mysteriously just kind of hanging around this singing android, and where's it all gonna go from here? Unfortunately, it kind of goes everywhere under the fucking sun. Metallic Rouge's first and most obvious problem is that it's very unfocused and very disjointed. I've noticed this problem on a lot of original anime that have a lot of talent and a lot of money behind them. It's almost like a lot of creators in the anime industry who have to spend a lot of their career just working on adaptation. The minute they get their chance to do something wholly based on their own imaginations, it seems like they kind of let things run a little out of control. Sort of like what we saw with Wonder Egg Priority a couple years ago. There's a lot of great ideas at play here, but because of the desire to include as much of it as possible, it ends up feeling unfocused and all over the place. Just to give some examples, early on we are introduced to this chemical called nectar that is the power source of all neons. It is stolen by humans because it can be turned into a drug somehow. Okay, that's going to be a big deal, right? Wrong. Brought up in the first episode and never again. Okay, Rouge, she's hunting down all these like evil androids called the Immortal Nine for some reason. Oh, so the show's going to be about that, right? No, she's already killed a couple of them. She kills the one, and then the rest just sort of don't show up till the end of the show, and we barely talk about it. The whole show is going to be about world building on Mars. No, we leave Mars fairly early on, like within the first chunk. Okay, starting to see the problem here. You see, in anime where you really want to convey certain ideas or a certain world, you need to have things simple enough so the audience can follow that. Using other big successful original anime of the recent times, Lycris Recoil as an example, which this show seems to take a lot of cues from, you kind of see how that's implemented much better. In Lico Rico, we have a very Big Brother style world where anyone who causes any level of social disorder is killed on the spot by cute anime girls. Okay, so yeah, we have a very simple idea, and we have the ultimate factor of waifus to move it. This show could have very easily had something similar. You could very easily have conveyed a very simple, straightforward narrative of oppression or just any sort of simple sci-fi concept like that if you focused on it. if you gave more time to basic world building, if Rouge got to know more neons instead of just like immediately meeting a group of rebels and just it all amounting to big exposition. You see, Metallic Rouge's idea of world building is not to show you things or to show how characters react to things, is to just sit through endless monologues and dialogue scenes just explaining shit to you that can easily be conveyed. In Lycris Recoil, we had characters like Takine who were very jaded. They only viewed the world in how do I do my job and fight and kill. This is contrasted by the other main character, Chisato, who views the world as a much more important place and that life is sacred. This is shown to us by how Chisato interacts with the world around her and how Takine ingests that and moves it forward. You could easily have done that here. One of Rouge's defining traits is she's very innocent. She knows nothing about the world around her. She's like a little girl trapped in an adult's body, which it makes for a very easy fish out of water scenario. You could easily dedicate so much time to her learning about the world around her, but the show never wants to do that. It just kind of immediately puts her from big expo dump scene to big expo dump scene. We never really get a sense of ideology from her of what she thinks, nor do we really feel it develop any further than oppression is bad. Well, okay, where do we go from there? Whenever we get a scene where in a normal show she would assert her morality or her values, they're done in the most just generic way possible that doesn't really like give you any idea where she's going as a person, which sucked because I all in all liked Rouge. Maybe it's just because she's hot, but she was definitely one of the things that kept me watching throughout the series. There's also her banter with Naomi. Naomi is a lot of fun in this show. This kind of like world-weary smartass who's always kind of like calculating and thinking of things. These two have a fun back and forth, and using that to help make the world feel more alive is essential. And they don't do it because the show would rather explain things. Another big problem the show has is because it has so many ideas and is so in love with all of them, it never really knows how to properly like fill the time it's allotted in with what's important. So we get a lot of episodes where I felt like I missed an episode. We get Rouge lamenting over her relationship with her father. Well, we never met her father. We learn that Rouge gets orders from her brother. We know nothing about her relationship with her brother. We never learn any of these important things, but when they come up, instead of keeping vague, which is what you would just sort of have to do in this situation, instead we get endless scenes where characters talk as if we're supposed to know these things. Under normal circumstances, I think the average audience member could understand that Rouge learning that her relationship with her family is more complicated than she's thought could be very compelling. However, because Rouge is portrayed as not being very normal in the way she behaves, thus making her not super relatable to the audience, it doesn't really feel like anything when they're trying to tug at your heartstrings like that. Well, how do the rest of the characters feel? Everyone else in this show just feels very tacked on. Everyone exists to be their cliched roles, and that's about it. You have antagonistic forces that are underdeveloped, you have other weird big sci-fi forces that don't really do anything, and the entire last 3 episodes of this show is literally some of the most incoherent, half-baked, slapped-ass anime I've ever seen. So when I remember how many industry veterans worked on it and how passionate they seemed, I'm left pretty fucking disappointed. And that's kind of what I would sum the show up as. Show doesn't even really have an ending. It kind of just stops. Also, spoiler alert, I gotta complain about this. They establish early on that the robots are controlled by this thing called an id, which is just a big marble, and the marble is important, but then like a dude has his id removed and he's just like fine for the next couple episodes till he gets it back. And so like, oh, so they don't really need it, but then Rouge gets hers cut out and it's supposed to be a big fucking deal, but it doesn't because we already saw a dude just walk around for 3 days without it. And also, like, sometimes the neons can, like, they're just supposed to be bog standard androids, but then, like, sometimes they feel pain, and sometimes they, like, produce body odor. That's a thing in this. Okay, that seems pretty funny. But, like, it was just that over and over again. The whole show was just endless scenes of stuff that was not explained, was not properly portrayed, or they just really didn't do anything with. And there was just so much potential here. I love the Toku inspired designs. The fights are really cool when they happen. And like I said, the dialogue and banter between the two leads is great. But unfortunately, as much as I hate to admit it, this show is a giant fucking failure. And yeah, I can't say I blame the majority of the anime community for skipping it. But if you still kind of want to give it a try, and if you go in with an open mind like I did, I think you'll still find out one or two things to enjoy. And all in all, I did enjoy this show enough. At the very least, enough to, if we ever got any merch, I would totally buy a Rouge figure, which we won't, because they didn't do any marketing or product tie-ins. Maybe that's another fucking problem with this show. No one fucking knew it was happening. But yeah, all in all, Metalic Rouge is what it is. But yeah, in the comment section below, give me your thoughts on this anime. Did you try it? Did you like it? Did you not watch it? What's some things you'd like to see out of original anime in the future? Give me that in below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for always wanting to believe that an original show will come out and take over, just like Lico Rico did.